I often have asked individuals, students, and anyone who came asking how to change their lives and what to do different and different strategies to learn different things, tools, etc. This very simple question. I would ask them, imagine someone dear to you called you, texted you, rather urgently and said, check the news, or look outside your window, and you check and you see the news telling you, you only have 5 minutes left. We as a planet have only 5 minutes left. Or you see, well, why? You see an asteroid coming as you look outside your window. We have only 5 minutes left. Let's say there's a big, Texas-sized asteroid coming straight at us, which it would be a world destroyer, by the way. So the reason for such a question is not to make the person become terrified or something, or to make them become even more anxious or stressed out about life, but to have them look at the urgency. In Pali, in Buddhist literature, we have a term, it's called Sangvega. Sangvega, the urgency. What would be different about your choices and the worries that you came to me with to try to find solutions for? Would they matter in the presence of such a scenario? Again, this is a hypothetical. You're simply momentarily thinking about, what would I do different? Would these big deal, seemingly big deal things that I'm struggling with, would they still be big deal for me? Or would something change? So the follow-up question for that I usually would posit and express to these individuals would be, what would you do if you are told that you only have 5 minutes to live? Would you do something that you're not doing now? So often people say, they usually have a stunned look on their face, and they say, well, could you give me more time? The other day I was actually mentioning this to someone, and I said, well, 5 minutes could be even a year. Okay, we have a year, 365 days, give or take a few more hours. Would you do your life differently? Would you be different? How? Only you can answer this question. No one else. And only you can really feel the freedom that comes with urgency. So urgency brings with it freedom. This is something that many people don't understand. They think urgency is simply like being at the tip of an arrowhead, at the tip of a sword, at the tip of something very sharp, like, it's unavoidable type of a thing. And that has some truth in it, but it also gives us a sense of freedom. freedom from the worries, the distressing situations that we are carrying over our heads, the dark clouds we walk with from room to room, from situation to situation. These carry over things that we're carrying over from one experience to the next, one relationship to the next. We're not free. We're not tasting what that feels like. But imagine this hypothetical again and again has produced in people a sense of ease. Last month I was in Malaysia, and I was talking to someone who was in tears because she's overwhelmed with, her midlife crisis and things like that, and life situations and choices in the past, all these things coalescing at this point, at this juncture in her life. And when I asked her as to what she might do, and I again gave her this hypothetical question, it's very versatile, as you can tell. She said, I would call my mother, and I would also hug my dog. I would tell them I love them. And I said, well, you're not with your dog right now, but you have a chance of talking with your mother. And she said, but my mother is on the other side of the planet. And I said, do you have her number? She said, yes. And I said, well, what's stopping you? Can you call her? The time zone, this and that. She's like, yeah, it's still early in the day, so I can't call. I said, okay, I give you permission to call her. And then I see this beautiful smile forming on her face. She reached into her purse and got her phone out, and she called her mother, and she was on the phone with her for about 15 minutes. And she kept on telling her, no, Mom, there's nothing to worry about. I just called you to say I love you, how much I love you. Several things happened, but definitely one thing for sure was taking place. She was not stuck in her sadness, in her worrisome thoughts. Her head was out. The dark cloud was no more above her head. She felt light, and then she kept on crying later, even after hanging up. She was still smiling. So we use different tools. One of them is this. You might probably find different, maybe even better tools that could bring you back to focus in life at this point. And looking down at your feet. Sometimes in sessions I used to, years ago, I would tell patients, could you look at your toes? Well, I can't see them. I'm wearing shoes. And I would tell them, okay, please take them off. Are you sure? Yes, I don't mind. So they would start wiggling their toes, and they would start smiling. They would become lighter, not so heavy. So you're bringing yourself back to the urgency of life. Life that is, especially these last several years, have been, these years have been trying to nail us down, torture us into thinking, into fearing, and becoming terrorized as to how we can avoid death. Avoid death, as if anyone has been ever successful. No one can. You can find different tools. Science could find ways to extend it, maybe here and there. But sooner or later, you're going to die. We're all going to die. That's just part of life. But that is misuse not using, at least correctly, this thing called life, because life is not supposed to be the avoidance of death, but a preparation for death. To understand how beautiful it is to prepare, to spend this life appreciating life, and as you do so, to prepare yourself for that ultimate moment of life. The ultimate moment of life is death. But what kind of death? It's an art, it's a skill. And in Buddhism, Lord Buddha was very, very clear on this. How those very last moments of one's life are so crucial as to what will happen next. It is crucial for us to have that tranquility established in us as a basis. To not become perplexed, to not become panicky, to not lose your sanity. To be equanimous, to be grounded, to smile, to say to yourself, it's okay, it's okay. Everyone goes through this, and then open your heart to the great possibilities and to the great experiences you've had where you truly have shared some beautiful moments. You've given from your life to others. You've shared love. You've given love. You've received love. And show appreciation for that. So the emotional weight of that moment is extremely important. Unfortunately, most of us, when it comes to that moment, because we've been training ourselves the whole lifetime to avoid this thing, which is, by the way, unavoidable, that when we get to that point, the heart is racing, the mind is in a turmoil. So the person is in tears, this and that. Everybody's grieving already. The sense of loss, all these things. This is unhealthy. This is in fact stupid. But a stupidity that human beings, mostly human beings, have been exposing themselves to and perpetuating that. And that's not supposed to happen. That's not necessary to happen. So can you turn your life into a preparation for death? To have a noble death. To have a noble death, you need to have a noble life. You need to live with noble attitude in your life. To appreciate life, to appreciate the people around you, to appreciate what you have, and that includes your body, first and foremost. The opportunities this body is giving you, or life and life situations. But not to go ahead and greedily reach over and take and grab. These days, everybody's trying to grab and greedily. I want more of this. There's entire spiritual schools that are teaching people to become even more greedy under the guise of spirituality. Lusting after things, passionate about taking more. Well, the moment of death is what? You give that up. All these things, including your name, including your identity as a person, as a human being, as a this, as a that, as well as the roles you've been playing in your life. But one thing you can take with you, and that is your state of mind. So how is your state of mind? Is it still greedy? That's why a person ends up loitering in samsara, in this cycle of unending rebirths, because people are greedy for more, more, more. Well, more also brings with it more suffering. It's not just more pleasure. So, without going too deep into that, I've talked so much about that in the past, in different settings. But just turn this life of yours into a training, preparation for death, in a regal, in a noble, in a happy and celebratory manner, which starts with appreciation. So I'll just share this for now. May you all be happy. May the Triple Gem bless you and your loved ones.